moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy. No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of He Said, She Said. I am one of your hosts for tonight, Aggie, and with me is the awesome Rowdy Rick. How are you doing tonight?
I'm here, unlike last week. Dude, last week was insane. I just there was way too much on my plate, so I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to the Alien, our programming director, and one of the guys who gets a lot of the other stuff done behind the scenes that I can't handle, including sometimes making shows that I can't be on happen. Because that last week.
Yeah,
was
you
crazy.
you had a very hectic Friday last week, so you can be forgiven.
Well, the worst part is I had a really hectic Friday, and then the Mother Nature decided to be a fucking whore again, and so for half the weekend I couldn't do anything, and then Monday I start trying to get to work and my internet craps out. I'm like, I roll back over and go to sleep, and then Tuesday I was supposed to have a tech out. They didn't make it out till Wednesday, so I wasn't able to do daytime work, but I got things up and running again to be able to do the night shift stuff, and been trying to muddle through ever since, but I still feel like I'm behind the eight ball, and I hate that feeling. But we're here now.
Yes,
and
we are.
and for some reason, somebody decided she wanted to talk about sad movies today. So I decided I was going to class it up a little bit and put the you in favorite to make it seem kind of highbrow for tonight. So just for anybody who's wondering, no, that's not a typo. No, I didn't suddenly become British. I'm trying to class up the joint, man. Maybe a little. But yeah, so Favorite tearjerker movies.
I
Yeah.
know it sounds kind of bad, and believe it or not, one of my tearjerker movies is actually a Chuck Norris film. So
Okay.
it
Well,
it, it
that
it's a
that explains
horrible
the
friendship,
tie-in.
but yeah.
That
Huh.
explains the tie-in because I was kind of wondering where you were going with this. I was like, there has to be a reason she's saying this with everything that's happened today. And then, sure enough, as soon as we started talking, you're like, yeah, I have a Chuck Norris tie-in. Um, I don't know of any Chuck Norris movies I've ever seen that made me cry, except for maybe Lone Wolf McQuade, but that's for different reasons. Because yeah, for anybody who thinks Walker Texas Ranger was an original concept, yeah, that was basically somebody jacking a movie he was already in and making it softer. Because yeah,
It was I know it's kind of a it's a rough subject, but sometimes okay, most of the time okay, fine. I cry a lot when it comes to movies. I do. Most of the time it's
you no
because
way.
I'm happy about it, it's like a relief thing, that kind of thing. There are some movies out there that just wreck me and I will not watch again because they were that heartbreaking. And I know that in our chat, we both said, yeah, no Old Yeller and no Bambi. We're not even discussing those because those are just like complete wrecks. So
Oh, I misunderstood why you said no because I thought you were when I
for
mentioned one of
me,
the ones.
no, for me, I can't do those. And so I'm not even including those because those are so the credits
No,
start rolling, I'm already crying. So I'm just like I can't even get to the part that's supposed to be sad to cry. I'm crying through the whole thing. Might as well
well,
just
I
they're
mean,
understood for me.
to me, Old Yeller was just I don't know. To me, that whole thing was gratuitous, so I wasn't really going to include it anyway. But yeah, I misunderstood because I mentioned the one that my mom because my mom used to love to make me and my brother watch
Mhm.
those movies with her just to see if we would cry. And so for my mom, there was one that she took us to the movie theaters, and I'll get into it in a minute. But there's a backstory as to why I was crying so hard, and she didn't realize it, and she was upset for it. By the time the movie was over, and she got me to talk about why I was crying so hard, and I told her why, then she felt bad for dragging me to the damn movie. But it's probably still one of my all-time performances. But yeah, when I mentioned the one that I mentioned in text, and then you're like, "No, Old Yeller," I thought you were trying to say that you thought that was a more tear-jerking choice than the one that I had mentioned, not that
Oh
we
no,
weren't
no,
gonna
no,
discuss it.
no. It
But
just means that
I appreciate that now that I understand it because I didn't really want to talk about that one either. Because like I said, that whole thing to me, especially for a Disney movie, was just completely unnecessary. Dude, Disney went from we're gonna cut you and make you feel it to we're gonna make everything retarded in like my lifetime, and I don't know
yeah,
when that
I
happened.
don't get it either. It used to be that Disney could go really, really dark, and we kind of, the parents actually enjoyed that, even though um, I remember reading some of Tolkien's letters saying, "Please don't ever let anything that I write end up in the hands of Disney," and because he was afraid that Disney would take out the themes of Christianity out of the fairy tales and anything that he wrote, like he did with Snow White, like he did with Cinderella, like he did with all of these, the whole princess, you know, tales had Christian themes running through them, and they were pretty dark. But Disney wanted to clean them up a little bit and make them, more showy, even though they were still dark. I mean, the evil queen, Maleficent. Oh my gosh, that would terrify any child, when I was growing up anyway. But they were still pretty sanitized. So, let's face it, Little Mermaid, bitch is supposed to, you know, turn into foam. She doesn't end up with the prince. The prince rejects her and she just pines away and turns into foam. Disney was not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. So they had to sanitize it quite a bit. But, that's the nature of the beast for Disney, I suppose. But now, yeah, now it's all just completely messed up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know. It'll be interesting as the world seems like it's starting to try to pull away from some of the crazy. It'll be interesting to see how some of these companies that have made it so much a part of their culture if they start responding to it or if they just keep doubling down. I have a feeling Disney will be one of the ones that doubles down because they've done it before. But I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we will.
so all right. So before we dig into the main topic, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Is that a hint?
No, I'm
Or
just asking.
oh, just general?
Yeah.
Um, I'm thinking, but my thought process is kind of slow. I'm so tired. I've been constantly entertaining for the past well, all of March is completely booked. And then I was gone, as y'all know, February because my daughter was having a baby. So I was I was entertaining them, cooking for them, doing stuff for them and everything. So I think today was the first day that I didn't have anything on my docket and still ended up going to Tyler to run errands. But it was nice to get out of the house. So that was kind of cool. I still have to do laundry though. So yeah, that's my update.
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all,
How about you?
congratulations on finally entering the grandparent club.
I know, I know. It took me a while, admittedly. I'm gonna be 60 this year, and I was like, I honestly, I was despairing that my children would ever procreate. They were just not in a hurry at all.
12 more and 12 more and we tie in, you get 2 egg rolls. So
Got it. And it was funny though. I do have to state I do have to state that my daughter, who did not have a very comfortable pregnancy. She did suffer from a lot of morning sickness, and the baby was rather rambunctious, which is nice. You want your baby to be rambunctious, right? Um, she said that this was going to be the only one. That lasted a whole week after the baby was born. She was already planning on number two. Her husband was like, "Whoa, whoa, can we wait until this one is like toilet trained before we move? We go to number two."
she's like, but if we start now, it's guaranteed.
I know it was really funny to actually witness that, that I mean the baby's like 5 days old and she was already planning on number two. And I was like, that's the cutest thing I've ever heard. And I told her, I said, while I was there, I said, you will change your mind. She's like, oh, this has been so
Oh,
difficult and blah, 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 and all this stuff and the pain and this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, you're still going to change your mind. And
well,
I told her that is not the greatest pain any human being can ever suffer through. Just remember that. And she says, how do you know? I said, well, because you go through it and then I'm not even joking. Like 2 or 3 weeks later, you're already wanting another one. You think it's the greatest thing and you're like so attached that you want to give this love to another human being and you just keep seriously you keep going past that. And she was like, I don't think you're right. I think you're wrong. Yes. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're right. I was hatched yesterday. I don't know any of this stuff. So but I was right and I was vindicated. And she was kind enough to actually send me a text telling me, you were right, Mom. So believe
dun
me,
dun
I took a
dun.
screenshot of that to keep for posterity.
You should send it to one of those companies that you send them a picture and they send it back in a cool frame and put it on your wall. And just see when she comes over next time, see if she notices. Just
Oh,
that
I'm
would.
I I might actually cross stitch it.
Nice.
That's one of the greatest gifts that one of my children ever gave me. My youngest daughter was actually got into cross stitching after watching me, and she uses it. It's one of her manners of uh, breaking down her anxiety. So it helps her to focus and stuff. And for Christmas one year, she knows that one of my favorite sayings is "Not today, Satan." I say that all the time, and she actually cross-stitched a phone convo of me saying, "Not today, Satan," and then Satan replying, "You say that a lot. Is it something I said? I mean, are you just breaking our appointments? I mean, what's up with that?" It just cracks me up all the time.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that I miss now, because we've been friends on social media now for a while. I remember dying laughing one of the first times I ever saw you post on I think it was even still Twitter back then. Not today, Saban. Oh my god, I was
Oh,
dying.
yes, that was
I
my
was
favorite
dying.
hashtag, and I have a enormous amount of respect for Nick Saban outside of football because he is a man of faith and he is actually a good person, you know. Um, I would tease him about the whole football thing, and whenever they lost, it would crack me up because I would get to say, "Not today, Saban," and it was my favorite hashtag ever.
Yeah,
But and it upsets me that I can no longer use this.
right.
But yeah, um, it's funny because I believe he's Catholic, and so he does speak about his faith a lot, and so out like I said, outside of football, great guy. I just don't want him coaching anymore, and yet I do because I want him to lose. Don't come
Okay.
at me, Rex. Don't come at me. Okay.
I mean, this is Rex we're talking about, so that probably wasn't probably gonna happen anyway. But anyway. Oh, but yeah, no, I mean, but yeah, it's just funny. And as far as the oh my god, I want another one. Yeah, my oldest son's wife had him convinced that after because she had one before they got together, and then they had their first one together, and now they have a second together, so they have a total of three. Well, when the second one came out, like, and well, that this was no, she hadn't even come out yet. We were doing the gender reveal, and they were like hyping everybody up, going, this is only number three for us. We're gonna do a football team." And then the third one became a toddler, and they're like, "Yeah, no, f
Yeah, we're
this,
done.
we're done." because
We're totally done. Totally
because
done.
my oldest grandson, who was her first son, is 14 now, but their middle child is only a few months younger than Gracie. So they have two that are really close together, and that's what I kept telling them because Jesse and David might as well have been twins because I mean they were born 13 months, 13 days, and 13 hours apart. I never counted the minutes because I was too afraid it would be 13 if I checked, and that would have really freaked me out. But yeah, they were close enough together that anytime they were in the same place at the same time, everybody was like, "Oh, cute, you have fraternal twins." It's like, no, not really, but they might as well be. But yeah, so yeah, when you have some that are that close together, it tends to change your mind about the whole. We can have our own football team, our own basketball team. Yeah, no, nobody wants to deal with that after that.
Yeah, I think my husband wanted a soccer team, and I was like, "No, that's not gonna happen." And, so we had gone down to 6, and I think my 3rd one was not planned, and we kinda like having the 2 because the 2 would entertain each other, and then the 3rd one came along, and I was like, "Oh, no, we need to have even numbers," and he was like,
But
"Okay," and then I said, "You know what? Odd is fine. Odd is fine. It's
yeah,
perfect."
yeah. Unfortunately, my youngest son and his wife have not figured this out yet because you know, my son had the one that we didn't know about till he was almost two, because of course he was like in denial. And then now they have two together, and she's already talking about another one. And I'm like, maybe give it
Oh,
a couple
really?
years because yeah, I mean, well, I mean, he like I said, he grew up with four siblings, so I think he's kind of wanting at least the same thing for his kids. Which is funny because he hated it when he was younger, but now he's like, I really like being part of a bigger family. I'm like, dude, you already have three. You're fine. No, I think we need at least one more. It's like y'all are gonna make me the coloring books for birthdays and socks and underwear grandpa for Christmas because I can't afford it. Y'all keep popping out grandbabies, and I'm gonna need to set up trust funds because holy crap. Because I mean, yeah, and it's funny because I've a friend that I used to work with. We've been talking a lot lately, and we realized that we both have the same number of grandkids. And I'm like, it's a good thing we never tried to make anything happen. That would be a hell of a family picture. Because I've got 13 and she's got 13. Imagine trying to get everybody together for that shot. But
That would be pretty.
we'd have to have people like doing the panorama camera stuff together.
Yeah, yeah. There was a time we had discussed having a reunion um, in Puerto Rico with all of my mom's siblings and their children. The problem was a lot of their children were, relocated throughout the world. There's several that live here in the United States, obviously, but there were some that live in South America. A couple were stationed in Germany. There was one in Japan for some weird reason. I don't know if they're still in Japan, but they were there last time I checked. So they were all over the place, and um, uh, then we started talking logistics. Well, if we get there, um, who's going to stay with who? Because my hometown is not well known for having hotels. They have the equivalent of an old-fashioned inn, as in the horse and carriage kind. So all of the rooms are like have a little veranda. They have no air conditioning. They open out into the. It's they're very quaint and they're very popular um, for honeymooners. But again, most of those have maybe 8 rooms, 10 rooms each, and there were only 3. And I started doing the math, and it wasn't mathing because with my mom's just mom's stuff alone, we would take up all of them. And so we started doing the logistics, and we just finally said, let's just send each other photographs, and then somebody put it together in a collage, and that's how we had our reunion. we just did a we just did a collage. We never even got together because it was impossible. There was it was it we couldn't handle it. The only way to do it was to actually book floors at a hotel in San Juan, and it was cost prohibitive for almost everybody. So we just said, forget it. It's just never going to happen.
Oh, okay. I just saw Raptor's post. He's like, so let me get this straight. At 8:30, you guys are gonna be chronicling my entire love life. No, that was not the plan. But I guess if that's what you want to say this is, that's cool with me. So I never thought to ask how many movies do you have?
I actually have 5 and 2 honorable mentions.
Okay, so we over prepared like usual, which is
I
fine. I
I,
wasn't
I
sure how many
cry
you
at
were
every
actually going to
movie.
ask.
I mean, this was hard for me.
That could be less about the entertainment value and more about you might need to see a doctor. Just
Well,
uh,
that's true.
uh,
I even cried at the
no,
movies
I
that.
don't mean the crazy doctor.
Oh,
Just saying,
okay, noted. Even the crazy
but
movies like Geostorm and The Core and stuff that are basic drinking games, I still cry at those because something sad always happens. So, you know, it was hard. It was hard to actually winnow down the list for me. But if you only have a few, then we can just do as many as you have.
well, no, I have quite a few as well. I just wanted to see
Okay.
how many you had so I could see if I needed to find a couple more or pare down. But yeah, we have about the same number. So
Well, you can go first.
all right, so my first one,
Are
um,
you going 5 to 1 or 1 to 5 or no
five,
particular order?
5-1 for me because
Okay.
I want to save the biggest one for last. But this one of the reasons this got me is because the theme song for the movie was one that I used to sing to my oldest daughter. And you guys remember the movie My Girl?
Oh, yes.
Ooh, that that was a hard one. My Girl
That
2,
was
not so
rough.
much, but the first one, yeah, the first one that gut punched me. That one was just ugh.
That was really rough. And it was kind of, when it came out, it was kind of marketed like a coming of age for young kids, like as you move into adolescence. And I was like, absolutely not. But then when you start thinking about it, this is a fact of life. So I can see why it's something that you would show kids. it was a good introduction to the theme of death. And it would, but it was, yeah, but it was difficult. It was very difficult, but I thought it was really well done because, most of the time you introduce your kids to death by, Halloween and Friday the 13th and shit of that caliber. But that's not the way death really is. So I think this one was, before children, when this came out, I would never have thought of showing it to children. And yet, once my kids were around the same age, we did watch it together. And yes, it was completely blubber central. I yeah, I'm actually tearing up just thinking about it right now.
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know about this movie, this was released in 1991, was directed by, pardon me, Howard Zeif. It starred Anna Klumsky, Macaulay Culkin, Dan Aykroyd, and Jamie Lee Curtis. It is considered a coming of age drama. I think that's kind of a BS, but it was set in the early 70s in Pennsylvania and centers on Veda Stoltenfuss, a precocious girl obsessed with death due to her father's funeral home business. So at first, I didn't really know where it was gonna go because I was like, okay, well, she's the daughter of a mortuary guy, so of course. But it's the line that I mean, I can only consider it, in the context of the scene in the movie. It's probably one of the most undefeated tearjerker lines ever. He can't see without his glasses.
Yes,
Oof.
every time, every single time. And the thing is, the scene is coming. The scene is coming, and you raise your shields, right? It's a red alarm. You're raising your shields. You're about to get hit by photon torpedoes or something. Still, you still end up crying when you hear that, and it
Well,
kills you every single time.
so the weird thing for me, right, is nobody knew who the girl was that was playing this part. This was her debut role. So, not knowing who she was, but coming into this knowing who I thought Macaulay Culkin was as an actor, and then watching her just pull it off with chops like a 35-year-old would have, and seeing Macaulay Culkin, just not be the slapstick kid.
Yeah,
It just
the little geek.
this is
Hmm.
not something that I expected to hit me as hard as it did because I'm like, it's got Macaulay Culkin in it. It can't be that bad. And then I'm like, ugh. Now, granted, this was '91, so this was right before I got out of high school. So luckily, I didn't have kids yet. So, but yeah, a few years later, when I did, I caught myself singing because for some reason, Crystal would not go to sleep unless I sang to her. Like, and Jesse was the same way. Luckily, Gracie kind of outgrew that because I'm getting a little too old to carry a baby around and bounce and sing all the time. But yeah, I had to sing her. I had to sing her to sleep for hours, and that one, and I don't remember the name of the other one, but it was a song that it was an English song. I wish I could think of the name of it right now, but she actually preferred it when I sang the Spanish version, which was interesting. I can't think of who it was now though. But yeah, the My Girl. That's still our song. I'll usually sing it part of it to her on her birthday. Cause yeah.
Aw, that's so sweet, though.
All right. So what's your first one?
My number 5 is actually one that surprised me when it came out. I did not expect it to be a tearjerker for me. Um, and so I say this as somebody who has worked with parolees before, but The Green Mile. I don't know what it is about that film, and it's not just about John.
I'm
It's
tired, boss. I was
yeah,
tired.
him. But when they go, oh gosh, what's his name? Uh, Oh, his name is escaping me. But when he is the older man, he's granted parole and he just cannot function in society, and he decides to take his own life because he wanted to go back into prison, where because that was all he knew. That I had to turn the movie off. I could not deal with that. And it
That,
was really rough. I mean, and there are several parts. It's not just John. Um, it's also you know, where the guards are actually trying to make the inmates understand that they can die with dignity. The process by which they try to communicate that to the inmates. Um, the whole issue with the what's his name, Hal Moore's wife, who has the cancer, and that he's having, sometimes she has good days, sometimes she has bad days. We deal with people who do have cancer and do have good days and bad days. So that was something that also kind of made me tear up and everything. But it was, for me, it was just the fact that he um, could not function out in society and ended up deciding that it was better to take his life than to deal with the real world. That was, for me, just like a spike went through me. So that one, most men would be like, yeah, it's rough and all that stuff and blah blah blah. And I, believe me, and I see it from the male point of view too, but seeing it from that point of view, where you are looking at a man whose all hope is just gone, and he just feels that it's best to leave this mortal plane rather than deal with it. It's just, it it destroyed me. I'm serious. I stopped the movie. I had it on VHS, right? So I just stopped the movie and I took it out and I put the cassette back in the sleeve, and then I just left it there for like a month because my sister had gifted it to us. She thought it was a great movie, blah 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 blah, and all that stuff. And then my husband says, we should finish watching that movie, and I'm just like, I can't. Oh my god! Oh my god! And he, of course, Mr. Logic says, you already saw the worst part, so we can continue. It's not going to get worse than that, right? And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. And so we put it back in.
all right. So before we move on, I do have a bit of breaking news because for some reason it always happens in threes have accelerated along with everything else. So apparently
No.
Nicholas Brendan has died today as well from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was only
Oh,
54. So
oh,
that's around my age, yo. I don't like it when that happens.
well, okay. So that's two. Who's the third then?
We thought we had the third earlier, but it turns out that was a hoax. I don't
Oh,
remember who
okay.
it was, but we tried to break it during News Roundup, and it turned out to be a hoax. But yeah, I remember, because there's always this thing of celebrity deaths happen in three, and they used
Right.
to be spaced out by like a month or so. Now they happen within cluster of a few days. So we'll probably know who number three is by tomorrow, and then there'll probably be another set started by Sunday. So there's that because it's like all accelerating and stuffs. All right. So, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to put that out there. So, any other final thoughts on this one?
No, I'm done. I'm okay. I'm all right.
Okay.
I'm okay.
So this one legit pissed me off because I went into this movie expecting funny, and it taught a life lesson instead. And some of you are gonna laugh at this one, but with the time frame, this is me starting my second marriage. This is me with, kids that were starting to transition from little rugrats to actual teenagers, all those fun things, because this was 2006. But it was the movie Click, and I was legit mad at this movie because I was expecting, usual Adam Sandler slapstick BS comedy, and then it turned into a fable in the middle. And it had me questioning life choices because this was in the middle of me trying to not only because this is in the middle of me building my business for the second time because I
Hmm.
decided to restructure, rename, and start over in 2004 ish. So yeah, so this was right in the middle of all of that. So so for those of you who don't know, this was considered an American comedy slash drama film. It was directed by Frank Karachi and produced by Happy Madison Productions, and it was put out through Columbia Pictures. It stars Sandler as a work obsessed architect who discovers a magical remote control. And at first, it's all cool because he's like, "Hey, I can fast forward through chores, and I can pause for the fun stuff." And for a little while, he could even rewind it, only to realize the heavy cost of skipping time. So what happens is, So he's struggling to balance his career and his family until he finds this eccentric inventor played by Christopher Walken, who played the character Morty. So he hands him a universal remote. Initially it's full of comic relief stuff. So him and somebody's arguing. He hits the mute button. Who the hell doesn't want to do that? And then fast forwards through chores. But the more he uses it, the more it kind of starts taking control of his life and starts propelling Michael, the main character, through years he can never relive. So the story did a 180 in the middle. So it started slapstick to Aesop. And maybe it was because of everything that I had been through in that time frame, everything else, but it just was a gut punch for me. Because again, now I didn't see this one in the theater. We watched it at home, but I put in the DVD expecting to laugh and not question my life choices. Thank you, Adam Sandler, you bastard.
Man, it has been a while since I saw that one. I need to see it again.
Yeah, I mean it did have mixed reviews, and a lot of people were mad about it for the same reason that I was mad about it, because it kind of comes off with this uneven, weird tone. Because one minute you're laughing and having fun, and the next minute you're like, "Why did I do that in 1985?" But yeah, so for anybody who wants to check it out, as of last check, it looks like you can still find it on Hulu, I believe, and it's also available for rental on Apple TV and Amazon. So I don't know if it's still on Hulu. I haven't checked, but it was towards the end of 2025. I do know that because I watched it recently again. So yeah,
Well, I'm gonna have to make a note out of that one because it has been a long time since I last saw that one. And I was watching it with my sister, who talks throughout the whole film, so it was very distracting. I really should sit down and watch everything that she has ever dragged me to see, because honestly, I cannot remember most of the films that I've seen with her. That was the reason I had to go back, like, the following day and buy another ticket to see Fried Green Tomatoes, because she talked the whole time. So,
dude,
yeah.
am
All
I the
right.
only one who hates people that do that? Because I hate
No,
that.
you're not.
Okay, maybe
You are not. Um, all right. So, my turn? Number 4?
yep, yes.
Okay. So, my number 4 is, there are a couple of movies on my list that I will never watch again. I watched once and I will never watch again because they were so they they broke something in me, and I couldn't get past that. So, this is one of them, and that is the film AI. And I remember when Spielberg, was working on this film, and the very first thing that he told everybody, "This is not ET. This is not for children. This is hellaciously not for children." And everybody was like, "But there's a kid in it." And he was like adamant. He said, "No, this is not a film for children. Please do not take your child to see this film." And I don't know what I was thinking. I think it came out 2001, because I was living in North Carolina by then. And my girlfriend who lived across the way, she wanted to go to the movies. and she didn't want to go by herself. And um, so I asked, I told my husband I'm going to the movies with Jolene. Yeah, her name is Jolene. And and yes, everybody made fun of her with the whole Dolly Parton song. But anyway, so we went to the movies, and my husband took care of the kids while I went to the movies. That was my break. And I came back, and I am so glad I did not wear any makeup, because I walked through that door and he saw my face and he was like, what? He thought somebody had died. He thought I had been in an accident or had witnessed an accident or something, because I was still crying. And I told him, no, it's nothing. I'm fine. It was just the movie was just, it was not what I expected. And this is the movie of a robot, okay, that kind of becomes a real boy, um, through the intervention of a woman whose actual son is in a coma. And she decides she likes having the robot around and everything. And unfortunately, if she pushes a certain button, it cannot be undone. He does become more of a child and has all of the children's attributes of competition and sadness and fear and longing and all of that. So, thinking that she's never going to have her son back, she decides to take that step and pushes that button. Well, her son wakes up and they bring him home. The son doesn't like this robot because he was the only child. And so it, becomes this competition between the two of them. And the parents become alarmed because it's now very dangerous. So they're going to take the robot to be destroyed. Well, the mom cannot bring herself to destroy this robot. So she lets him go and says, run that way, keep running until you find your own kind, basically. And so he takes off. And he goes through all of these, um, I guess, experiences and adventures looking for the blue fairy, because one of the books that she had read to him was The Tale of Pinocchio, how a puppet became a real boy. And so he wanted to become a real boy. And so he goes through all of this stuff. And Jude Law also plays another robot, and he's helping him trying to find the blue fairy and everything. And um, in this movie, yes, there's a lot of the whole climate change crap in it. I will just warn you right now, um, if, in case you haven't seen it. But it was extremely tragic because this boy, all he wanted was to be human. He finally finds the blue fairy, which is a statue that is underwater at Coney Island, because the water has overtaken New York with the climate change stuff and everything. And he finds out what he really is from his creator. They and and he basically just stays there wishing to be a boy. Well, years pass, everything is frozen, and there's a new group of people in town, bunch of aliens, digging and cataloging everything, the entire human existence on this planet, which has been wiped out due to massive freeze due to climate change. Yes, I told you it was going to have a lot of climate change crap in it. And they find him, and he is a perfect recording of humankind. And so they download all of the stuff that was in his brain and blah, blah, blah. And so they keep him comfortable. They give him everything that he needs. And because he's a robot, he doesn't need to eat. He doesn't need to breathe. He doesn't need to do anything, but he wants his mother. And the only way to bring back the mom is if they have any, you know, material like DNA or something. Well, the teddy bear that was his companion just happens to have a lock of hair. And so they bring the mom back, but she could only live for one day. And so at the end of it, where she's really tired and she falls asleep, she's about to die. And so he falls in bed with her and falls asleep for the first time. And that's how the movie ends. And you're just destroyed because there was absolutely nothing happy in this movie. at all, ever. There was absolutely no joy. There was no re- resolution, nothing. There was no resolution. This was soul breaking. And I'm like, I am never watching this movie again, ever.
The
'Cause it
funny thing
was,
is, well,
I
the
don't,
funny thing is when you first started talking about it, I thought I had watched it before. Now I've been reading through some stuff while you were talking, and I realized I don't think I've ever seen this movie. But now I kind of don't want to watch it. So
it's, it was, I mean, I'm not going to take away anything from Spielberg. Spielberg is a master storyteller. Everything he has done, even 1941, is classic. I don't care what anybody says about 1941. That's a great movie. So I, if no one has ever seen this, be prepared. There is no joy to be found in this movie. It is complete. It is just tragedy. That is all there is. And no matter every single adventure that this boy has, I believe his name is David, is bad. It's it's one after the other, and it's just there is no redemption arc whatsoever. And I refuse to watch it. And I only saw it once, and I can describe everything that happened in that movie. That is the mastery of Spielberg telling a story, because I refuse to watch this again, and it is inscribed in my head. I can't escape it. But if y'all want to go out there and have a really good cry, I highly recommend AI.
some that so I'm gonna take just that last part. I highly recommend AI and turn it into a promo. Just because
No, do not. The film, not the actual stuff.
too late, too
But
late.
yeah, I agree with Bit. I think after he did Schindler's List, it's- there was a change in Spielberg, and you can tell that movie was a story that had to be told. And a lot of people don't know, but or maybe they do, but Schindler has established Visions of Shoah Foundation, which is in charge of taking all the oral histories of those who survived the Holocaust. And he felt that, we need to start doing this now, because they were, getting old and dying off. So it's a wonderful thing that he did. But I think when he actually went through and did Schindler's List, I think that scar did something. But I, they just everything went dark after that, in my opinion. Um, but he also did Empire of the Sun, which was not exactly a happy movie either, and that was another tearjerker. So, and that was before Schindler's List. But anyway, so how about you? What's your number three?
So my number three uh, crosses into the movies about faith category, and I have a couple of those on here. But my number three specifically is I Can Only Imagine. And I don't
Ooh,
know, I don't know who's seen that one, but that was put out in 2018, and it was directed by the Irwin brothers, Andrew and John Irwin. It's actually a true story behind the hit song of the same name by the band Mercy Me, and explores themes of forgiveness, redemption, and faith. Of course, the film actually did really, really well at the box office for one of those kind of movies, and actually has sparked like full-on production houses because of how well that it's done. So again, it had J. Michael Finley, Dennis Quaid, Cloris Leachman, Madeline Carroll. It was actually distributed through Lionsgate in partnership with Roadside Attractions, and actually scored $86 million worldwide at the box office, which for a Christian movie was kind of unheard of at the time.
hmm
But so the film dramatizes the life of Bart Millard, lead singer of Mercy Me, and it focuses on his difficult relationship with his abusive father, Arthur. So after his father's transformation through faith, Bart writes, I Can Only Imagine, as a reflection of forgiveness and hope. And the story, which as same with the song itself, kind of blends the emotional family stuff with creative process and of course the songwriting. Um, so I mean, to me, And I mean, for anybody who knows me by now, you probably know how musical I am. So that
Hmm.
was actually one of the songs that I used to love to perform, and I actually sang it at a few funerals back in the day. Um, but at this, well, I say back in the day, it wasn't that long ago, but I've actually done it at a couple of funerals. But yeah, because the song's actually been out longer than the movie. But I just I don't know that one it kind of hit me, and I think it's because by the time this came out, I was in a different part of my life. I had started coming to the realization that I was getting to the age where I had more days in behind me or in front of me than I have, or less days in front of me than I have behind me. And I don't know, something about the arc with the dad kind of hit really hard. So for me, that was one of the ones that really kind of got me. Because yeah, it's a story all about redemption, and it hits a lot harder when you realize it's based on a true story. So there's that.
I would
There's that.
imagine so because,
I see what you
like,
did there.
yeah. No, things that are based on real life, a true story, that kind of, especially when you don't take a lot of liberties with the actual story. Um, I think they can hit hard, and um, admittedly, the film AI is set far into the future, or further into the future. I should say, not that far. Um, and it was completely fictionalized. But when you're watching something like Schindler's List, which was based on actual traumatic events, that either I do think that things that are based on a true story, especially when it's not just the name that they take from the book, but actual the events, or they keep to the actual truth of the event. I think they can hit pretty hard, harder than you expect them to.
No, but yeah, and then you're definitely not wrong. Sorry, I was reading up on some of the stuff people are putting out on X. So Rufus decided to make a funny about my title choice for the day. He's like, tearjerker, someone who cries while masturbating. It's like, no, that's not what we're discussing. Thank you. Thank you for playing. Thank you for playing.
Yeah, that's not it.
That's not it. And then somebody else was making a joke about the curse of Stephanos. He's like, wait, I misread this and thought you said the curse of Stephanopoulos, and that happens every Sunday still. Like,
Hmm.
well played. Well played. But anyway. So yeah, that's coming up next for those of you that don't know. So make sure you hang out when we're done because the Curse of Stephen House comes up next.
Yes.
I've actually kind of had that playing in the background of the periphery while I'm doing other stuff, and it just occurred to me that Amish is the team leader, so I accept team decimation anytime now. Never leave the Amish guy in charge. Did you guys never learn anything? Oh man. Anyway, kidding, just kidding. I'm gonna get hate from Amish for that tomorrow. I already know. Oh,
Alrighty. Okay, so my number three.
yep.
So my number three is a little unexpected. Most people would not actually cry at this film, but I did. Um,
Now, to be fair, remember we've already established that you pretty much
I
cried
cried
every.
everything.
So there's a reason you were like, let's talk about tearjerkers because I can just name us in every movie I've ever watched.
Okay, so my number three is Field of Dreams. That film came
See?
out. I was still in
So
college when it came out.
so hang on. Before you go too much further, it's a good thing I had an extended list because we have overlap again. So Green Mile was one of mine. I went ahead
Uh-huh.
and moved it to honorable mention because you already talked about it. And now Field of Dreams was another one of
Oops.
mine. So it's a good thing I have a list. No, it's fine. I usually don't send you my list on purpose because I want to see how much overlap we have. So it's cool that there are a couple movies that we have in common that we watched and went, oh damn, this one hit hard.
Yeah, it did, but you know what? It hit harder the second time I watched that film. I watched it. It came out in '89, And when it came out, I was about to graduate from college, I think, or I had just graduated from college. And so um, I was back home. Um, and my sisters wanted to go to the movies, and that was playing, and everybody thought, "Oh, Kevin Costner is so cute," and I'm like, "It's a baseball movie." Ugh, fine. They just wanted to go see eye candy. I was like, "It's a baseball movie. How good could this be?" And of course, it was an excellent baseball movie, considered one of the best baseball movies ever. But there were several instances where, you know, you you want to tear up, you feel like crying, and most of them are towards the end of the film. But when Ray, oh gosh, okay, tearing up. So Ray has a cornfield, and things are tight at home, and he keeps hearing this, if you build it, he will come. And so he and his wife have the same vision. So they decide to make a baseball field out of part of the cornfield. And everybody's seen this movie. I get it. You start seeing players from the Black Sox scandal. Now, I wasn't around when that happened, but I've read a lot about the Black Sox scandal, thanks to my daughter, who decided that baseball was her thing, in college. And so that was one of the things in history class that they covered. And so that was kind of fun to touch up on that again. And actually, when you see these men coming back wanting to play baseball because they did love the game, especially Shoeless Joe, you have this feeling of, what these men actually missed in their life. And then you have the whole Archie Graham arc, and you have the Terrence Mann arc. And so all of these arcs tying back to um, different seasons of that same pastime. But for me, one of the things that made me cry the second time even worse was after seeing an interview that Dwyer Brown, who plays John Kinsella, the dad of Ray, okay, Dwyer Brown's dad had passed away right before he went to film this movie. And he was actually playing the father in this role to a son that he didn't get to see before passing. And so for him, it was a really difficult role. He had just lost his father. And so when he was actually playing this, he was playing it from the point of view of his own dad. And so when you take that interview in and you see the way that he was acting out there, it gives a whole new level. And every single time this movie comes on, I got to stop doing whatever I'm doing. I will watch this movie. And every single time when he starts removing his catcher's mitt and his catcher's face mask and everything, and you see Dwyer, I just start bawling. And of course, my kids all thought I was crying because, oh, I know it's Ray's dad, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, you don't understand. Dwyer Brown had just lost his dad, like 2 days before he started filming this. So for him, this characterization was his dad. And it made the whole exchange even more poignant for me. But yeah, I don't know who else cries when they watch Field of Dreams. But at the very end, when you start seeing all of the headlights coming in, you feel like the tears are not just of sadness, but of joy, because the players are going to come back. They're just retiring for the evening. They go back into the cornfield, wherever they go. And, you know, and it was really funny. They had some really funny things, like when Shoeless Joe is telling, turns to them and says, "You want to come?" And Ray says, "Who, me?" And he says, "No, not you, him," pointing to Terrence Mann. And Ray gets all upset because he's like, "I built this place. Why can't I go?" He gets all indignant. And so, you see this petulant child kind of come out. which kind of harkens back with the whole situation that he's going to see his father and he's going to play catch with him, which is something he bitterly regretted because he stopped playing catch with his dad because his dad admired Shoeless Joe. And so, it comes back full circle, and he closes that circle with his father. So it some guys will watch this movie going, man, this is a great movie, I love baseball, this is what baseball's all about. Women will be like, oh my god, it's his dad, crying. But like I said, the tears were now because of the whole situation in real life with Dwyer Brown, and that made that characterization of John even better and more tear-jerkery, for lack of a better term. So
Nice.
that's my number 3.
All right, so my official number 3, because I had a backup, because I had a feeling we were gonna have an overlap in a couple of different places, and it's funny because, well, actually, I guess for me this is my number 2, not my number 3, because I forgot I went first. But yeah, which funny because that one was gonna be my number 2, honestly. But I had a couple of backups because I had a feeling we were gonna have overlap. Funny thing is, this one is still in sports, but to parlay this a little bit. So this one is brought to you and includes such folks that you may remember who have uttered such famous lines as King Kong ain't got nothing on me. And it was put out by a guy who was responsible for the crime TV empire, CSI Crime Scene Investigation, CSI Miami, CSI New York, CSI Vegas. Also involved in Without a Trace, Cold Case, The Amazing Race, which I didn't know. Kind of gives me that takes a couple of cool points away from him for me because I hate reality TV. Lucifer and Hightown. But the same guy who brought us this movie also brought us the abomination known as Pearl Harbor. However, the movie that I'm referring to today and actually has a bit of a tearjerker quality to it is Remember the Titans.
Mm,
Released in 2000
yeah.
and directed by Boaz Yakin, produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, starring Denzel Washington, Will Patton, Donald Faison, and Wood Harris, and was actually put out by one of the studios we've been trashing a lot tonight, Walt Disney Pictures, but this is before they went completely retarded. So this was set in Alexandria, Virginia. The film actually follows Coach Herman Boone, portrayed by none other than Washington, who was appointed the head coach of the newly integrated T.C. Williams High School football team. So, yeah, so the story is actually again inspired by true events. Of course, liberties were taken surrounding the real T.C. Williams High School football team in 1971. Pardon me. So at this time, so Alexandria schools were consolidated as part of desegregation efforts, creating tensions. The movie actually received positive audience reactions for emotional impact, and of course, Washington's performance left nothing on the table. Critics praised praised its inspirational tone, though some noted its simplified portrayal of complex social issues. Remember the Titans is actually a staple to a lot of folks who like sports movies. Funny thing is the soundtrack had a lot of cool early '70s music in it too. So
Hmm.
there was
It did.
Marvin Gaye, Marvin Gaye, CCR. So yeah, so that definitely added to the atmosphere. But yeah, so that one's another one for me that just and again, I think it hit different for me because this was towards the tail end of the time that we really thought that stuff like happened in the 60s and the 70s wasn't ever going to happen again. And then fast forward 9 years and holy shit, were we wrong. So it makes it hit even harder to me now because I've been saying this for years. It's like we jumped all the way back to the 1960s in 2009. You would have thought we were going the other way with what happened in 2009, but here we are.
True.
So yeah, for me, it actually hits harder now than it did then, and it holds up too. It's still a fun watch. I actually watched it a few months ago. So,
It is.
but
It's a fantastic movie. And it's funny because it's because of that movie that I found the Kendrick brothers facing the giants. I thought I was going to be watching Remembering the Giants. No, it was a different movie, which was excellent, by the way. So, and also tearjerker in a way. So, but yeah, that's a great movie. It really is. So, all right. So that was your number two?
Yep.
Okay. So my number two, and I don't want anybody judging me, I swear. I will
Too
cut
late.
the first person.
As soon as you said that, we all started judging. So just so you know.
Okay. My number two is Ghost.
Oh, see that was going to be one of my honorable mentions. So I get
Okay.
it.
All right. Yeah. I actually, that movie was tearjerker central when it came out. I think it came out in what, 1990? I think it was. I had graduated. I'd been out about a year from college. So yeah. And at the time, people knew who Demi Moore was, and but Patrick was not as well known. But the concept behind the film was very different from what we're used to in a love story. That's not to say we haven't seen love stories where, the ghosts are in love with a living human being, like in All Ways and The Ghost of Mrs. Muir, and um, that kind of film. But this one was a little different. And I think part of the reason why it hit, especially women, it hit hard, was that you knew he loved her, but he could not bring himself to say that because he was always afraid that it would ruin things. And before he can actually gather the courage to tell her that, his life is taken. And she has to learn to live without him, knowing that love that she had for him, she lives in doubt that it was reciprocated, And so he's hanging around. Y'all remember the story and everything. And there are several times when, you feel tears when she comes to meet Whoopi Goldberg's character, Oda Mae, and, she gets upset with her because she thinks that she's lying to her, and she's leaving the restaurant, and she says, ditto. And so the realization that, yeah, Oda Mae is telling the truth hits her, and she's like, he really is here, and so things progress and everything. And of course, you have your bad guy played by Tony Goldwyn of, actual Hollywood royalty, Metro Goldwyn Mayer. So but at the culmination of it, when you realize that he now has to leave because he did the job, he protected her, he made sure things would be okay, so it's okay for him to go now. And she sees him, and she replies, he does tell her that he did love her and all that. And that's a love that will stay with you, but it cannot be, it's unrequited. So every single woman, when we went to see this movie, every single woman walked out of that theater destroyed. They were just blubbering, and I could see the boyfriends were like having had their, boyfriends and husbands had their arms around every single woman walking out of there. Oh, that was so beautiful. Oh my gosh, and everything. I mean, seriously. And I cannot tell you. I will watch this movie. The humor in it is very nice. It's very warm. Everything about the film itself. But one of the things that I like about it is that when I'm crying about the whole situation, I don't lose the hope that that movie actually brings to you. There is an underlying theme of hope throughout the whole film, you know, and it's heartwarming. I mean, I I don't know how else to describe it. It's a feel good, oh, it doesn't end well type of movie, if that makes any sense. Because as y'all know, I like love stories that end badly. Witness Wuthering Heights. No, I'm not watching the new one. The new one is horrific. But things of that nature. So I have to say that this was a big surprise in the tearjerker department, because the loss was okay to deal with. It made me feel like if I were to lose my husband, I could go on because I would know that that loved one with me, you know? So it was, in that respect, it was a good blubber.
You were just one to recreate the pottery scene, don't I?
Someone suggested, hey, why don't you pick up, I think it was Ronnie. Um, she's on X. She's a potter. And she suggested that I should pick it up. And I was like, yeah, no, I can't have another hobby. I have too many hobbies as it is.
And I also, I don't do this often, Rex, but I'm gonna call you out. Dalton will always be Dalton. I don't care what other roles he played, because dude was in Dirty Dancing before he was Dalton. I think, was it before or right after? But either way, yeah, Dalton is an iconic character, and Patrick Swayze will always and forever, and the only Dalton as far as I'm concerned. Even though I didn't hate the remake as much as I thought I would, because they changed enough where it didn't annoy the crap out of me as much as I expected to. But yeah, Swayze will always be Dalton. Anyway, so
All right. So we're
I
up to
guess
your number
I guess
one.
we're to number one. All right,
Mhm.
so my number one, bit of backstory: 1988. We had this was 2 years after we had moved. I had a huge crush in fourth and fifth grade before we moved, and I stayed in touch with this person for years after we moved. And I found out that she had lost her younger sister. Well, my mom didn't know this because, it was, I'm a teenage boy. I'm not even talking to my mom about, long distance pen pal crap. So we go and see the movie Beaches.
Oh boy.
Anybody remember that one? My
Oh
mom
boy.
decided we were going to go see this one in the theater. I should have figured this out. Remember, this is the same woman who took me to see Alien in 1979, and I was 6. I should have smelled the setup coming, and yet I did not. But yeah, so movie Beaches, released in 1998. Got mixed reviews in the box office. Total budget was 20 million. It actually grossed 57 million, but that's because even though the critics hated it, everybody who went to see it told everybody else about it, so everybody went to get it. In today's numbers, that would be tons of money, by the way, because remember, this is 1998, to put that in better perspective. So this had Bette Midler playing Cece Bloom, Barbara Hershey playing Hillary Whitney, and Bertie Higgins, played by John Hurd. John Pierce was played by James Reed, and the younger Cece was played by none other than Mayim Bialik, for those of you who remember that name. But so this was a movie about two lifelong friends from completely different worlds, navigating a decades-long friendship that included love, loss of love, conflict between one another, differences in ambition, because of course Cece wanted to be a star, and then tragedy, because you can't have a feel-good movie anymore. They always have to try to throw some sort of a thing in there. So I don't know if this was the actual tagline or not, but this is something that always stuck with me. And it's some friendships don't fade, they echo. And the other one that I thought was interesting was friendships last a lifetime, even if you don't. So again, critics kind of went meh. Audiences, passed the Kleenex. But yeah, so the entire premise of the movie is chick has cancer. Chick died from cancer. Now, keep in mind, this is in the same weekend that I figured out that a friend of mine who I really, really cared about at the time lost a sister to cancer. So I'm bawling literally, like, I'm not even trying to hide it at this point because I can't. I am bawling my eyes out in the middle of the theater. And my mom, who, much like you, tears up at everything, is looking at me like I've lost my mind. So we eventually have to talk about it on the way home. I was like, I wish I would have known more about this movie before I agreed to go see it with you, because a friend of mine lost her sister to cancer this week, and I just found out. It's like, holy
Wow.
crap! She's like, this is why you're supposed to talk to me, son. I'm like, yeah, whatever. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
that one I can't watch it. I've tried. I tried to watch it a few years ago, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't. And unfortunately, the good thing is my memory is not as good as it used to be, because normally when I would tell myself, well, I can't really watch it again, it would start playing in my head and it wouldn't matter. But yeah, so that doesn't happen as much as it used to. But yeah, this was also a holiday release.
I don't know what they were thinking.
Who the hell puts this out in Christmas?
I don't know what they were thinking, honestly. I'm like, what?
I mean, don't get me wrong, there were parts of it that were absolutely amazing. Mayim Bialik as young Cece knocked it out of the park. And it was just, it was just one of those
Yeah.
amazing it was a good movie,
Mhm.
but not really something I would have put out around Christmas time. But anyway. But yeah, so there's my number one.
Okay, so my number one is a foreign film. It's Japanimation, actually. So it's an anime.
Okay. Well, that's anime. That doesn't really
Yes.
count as foreign. We've adopted that. So
When this one came out, this was considered foreign. We did not have anime the way we do now. Um, it was it's I'm never watching it again. I watched it once, and I can tell you that that film is engraved in my brain. It is the most tragic thing I've ever seen. It's a film called The Grave, or actually just Grave of the Fireflies, and it is, and like I said, an anime film. It came out in 1988, and it's it takes place in Kobe, Japan, right after the U.S. Army Air Corps bombs Japan. And so this is towards the final moments of the Pacific War, and it's a brother and sister, very young, whose mother has died in one of the bombings. She ends up being cremated and for a mass grave, and the son, who is older, takes her ashes and carries them in a box. They go to live with their aunt, and you know things are very dire at this point. There's very little food to be had. So the son actually acquires money from his mother's bank account and buys some rice. The aunt gets very impatient with them because they're not contributing to the household. So they decide to um, go ahead and leave the aunt and try to um, fend for themselves. The sister figures out that her mother has died. And one of the things that they do is they go to this bomb shelter, and they capture the fireflies from the marsh to provide light in the bomb shelter. But in the morning, all the fireflies, have died. And so the boy buries them, and it makes the sister very sad. And as things go on, they have to scrounge for food. They steal from farmers and all that stuff. And the boy gets caught and sent to the police station, but the cop, feels bad for him, so he lets him go. He goes to try and take care of his sister. His sister is having hallucinations, and she's really feeling bad at this point, and takes her to a doctor, and the doctor says that she's malnourished. She's suffering from malnutrition. And he takes the last of the money, and that's when he hears that Japan has surrendered. And he realizes, as he's listening to the news, that the entire Japanese fleet is either broken or has sunk, he realizes his father, who was a captain in one of the ships, is probably dead. So he returns to his sister with food. She's hallucinating at this point. He's fixing the food and everything, but she dies before he can feed her. So he ends up cremating his sister and putting her in a little straw basket. Carries both ashes and in a little candy tin that he had kept, and his dad's photo and everything. And so a few weeks later, and he's at a train station and he is starving. Everybody there is starving. There is no food to be had, and he dies. Um, and janitor comes by. He's pickpocketing everybody, who is dead and everything. They have to remove all of the dead people before the Americans arrive. And so he goes through the processions, and he throws the stuff away. And as he's throwing away the candy tin, the ashes fly out and they just spread out. And her spirit comes out of the tin. And then it's surrounded by fireflies. And then she joins her brother, who's waiting for her. And they get on a ghost train, and, they're looking back at all of the events that led to them dying. And, just like nothing happened. They're just looking with whatever. And they went to their destination happy and content. And they are living on a hill surrounded by fireflies looking down at the city of Kobe. And that's how the movie ends. There is absolutely no joy to be found in this film. And I still have not forgiven my friend who recommended it to me back in 1988. Okay. He was the one that introduced me to anime, and I watched Akira, which is also a dark movie, but I mean, at least there was some kind of redemption arc. This was just tragic. It was tragedy upon tragedy. So,
Very nice.
and
Not really,
yeah,
'cause that sounds really terrible, but at
it
least,
it is one of the most beautiful anime movies I have ever seen, and I enjoyed anime, but there was something about the quality of this film that transcends animation. And I if you can manage to get through it, I highly recommend it. As for me, I am never watching this film again because it is so tragic. It is just heartrending. You're going to walk away with this going, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? I mean, you're basically going to be feeling like that. So, word of warning: it is very tragic, but it was so beautifully done that it's still considered one of the greatest anime films of all time. And it came out in '88, so you can imagine how good it was.
all
But
right.
yeah,
Well,
that's my number one.
I still want to get to. I know I've got at least a couple of honorable mentions. I had to shift some stuff around, but we're almost out of time. Before we do that, though, somebody put something out on social media that made a thought occur to me. What if Chuck Norris picked now because he followed all the bad guys into their version of paradise to throw them out? Just saying.
Interesting.
That sounds like a very
I'm
Chuck
just
Norris
glad,
thing to
Satan
do.
is relieved that Chuck went to heaven
Yeah.
because he didn't want to deal with him down there.
But yeah, somebody put something out like that a couple hours ago, and I just saw it. I'm like, that's an interesting thought. What if, because somebody made an AI. I wish I could figure that out. I'm getting decent at AI music. I'm getting decent at making images, but the stuff that people use to make videos, the good stuff is still way too outside of my price range. But somebody made a pretty cool damn video. It's got all the Ayatollahs sitting in paradise, and then it cuts over in Chuck Norris in his gi with angel wings going, and they're like, and they thought they made it to paradise until they saw Chuck Norris. I'm like, there's a thought. There's a thought. Maybe that's why he finally took death up on the invitation that was issued 26 years ago. He was like, yeah, I think
Perhaps it's
I
valid.
yeah. But anyway, that sounds like a very Chuck Norris kind of thing to do. All right, so two very quick honorable mentions. First, A League of Their Own,
Yeah,
which
it's a good one.
which for me was kind of tearing up a little bit, but more of kind of happy tears. And again, one of my favorite lines of all time: "Are you crying? There's no crying in baseball." There is now, because it's the Chicks game for now. And then my last one, which I'm very glad I didn't see in the theater. Kind of wish I had, because it would have made the subtitles easier. But with as much as I was bawling by the end of it, kind of glad I didn't. Passion of the Christ.
Oh man, that one kills me every time, and I have to force myself to watch it every year prior to Easter. I watch it, but it kills me every single time. So for me, I have one honorable mention. I'll just say it real quick. Up.
That was another one that was kind of
Yeah.
down on my list, but it's
Yeah.
another one where you don't really expect it to be one. But yeah,
Mhm.
that whole opening few minutes, oof.
It was the whole opening, that was just amazing. But for me, at the very end, when he's looking at all of and realizes that she left it empty for him to have his own adventures, because life had been the adventure she had wanted to live with him. And that, for me, the spigot opened. I was just like, oh my gosh, so anyway. Well, we're almost out of time. So, Rick, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
Don't look for me, it's a trap. You can find me tomorrow night on Juxtaposition as we do our annual deep dive into the Mandela Effect. That is at 10 p.m. Eastern. Runs 10 to midnight. You can find me, as long as weather permitting, etc., on Sunday night doing Kingdom and Country at, again, 10 p.m. Eastern. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Rick Robinson Show, noon to 2. Monday night, America Off the Rails, 10 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday night, Men Explained Poorly with the usual miscreants. And then Wednesday, full schedule. And so I'll be involved in that pretty much all day. And then Thursday, Jen and Rick should be back, along with me pushing buttons for Disasters in the Making beforehand. And then we have a new show that was supposed to join our lineup today. And I thought I missed the window, but it turns out he was having technical issues anyway. So he will officially join our simulcast schedule on next Friday. And that's Lyle Armstrong with Beer and Bullshine over from SHR Media. We were supposed to start picking him up tonight, but my nap lasted longer than I thought, and I sent him a profuse email apology before. He's like, "Did you even look at the feed, dude? Because I had to order a new board, so you're fine. Let's start next week." I was like, "Crap, no, I didn't." But yeah, so that's it. You can find me at RowdyRick73. Follow along with everything we do at the network at KLRN Radio, except for on Rumble, because for some reason they were weird. So that one's under America's Podcast Network, which is our tagline anyway, so it still kind of works. And then I do contribute to Twitchy.com, MisfitsPolitics.com, LoftusParty.com, and also produce the Loftus Party podcast, which drops on Tuesdays. How about you, the lovely Aggie? Where can folks find you?
You can find me at Aggie the Barkeep over on X. You can find me 8:30 p.m. Eastern Tuesday nights doing the Cocktail Lounge with the ever-swap Brad Slager. 8:30 p.m. Eastern doing He Said, She Said with the awesome You on Fridays. Second Wednesday of every month at 8 p.m. The guys get together for Toxic Masculinity at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I bring the drink of the evening. And last but not least, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, first Monday of every month, Jeff and I do Spirited Books, where we review books and match a libation to whatever tome we are reading at the moment. Thank you so much for joining us, y'all. We hope you stay tuned for the
Curse of Stephanos.
Yes, Curse of Stephanos. So thanks for joining us.
Otherwise known as the Curse of Snuffleupagus. That's what I call Stephanopoulos anyway. All right, we're going to get out of here. Hang out for a D&D session coming up next right here on KLRN Radio. And never let Aggie forget Chupacabra porn. Bye, guys.